uh, for you all. Special mitzvah. Um, I want to thank Carlos Wesley from the community engagement representative of the Icla de Silva Foundation. He was instrumental in helping us organize this event together with Be the Match. And before I introduce our speakers for the evening, I just wanted to thank Carlos for all of his work on this. Thank you, Dr. Ron, and this is Rachel Benveniste for being here with your family to see you all here, and for giving us the opportunity to support you and to do an active mitzvah in loving memory of Aaron is really meaningful to us, and it's important for our community to be strong together and to do something with strength. And may his memory, may Aaron be for a blessing, and we should all continue to spread the strength of Aaron in all of our lives. I want to introduce Rabbi Shai Guttenberg, our head of school. He would like to welcome you all. Rabbi?
Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see so many of you. In this week's Torah portion, we learn about the unfortunate passing of Sarah Imenu, of Sarah, the mother of the Jewish people. And the name of the parsha, when dealing with her passing, is called Chaye Sarah, deals with the life of Sarah. And this summer, we experienced a loss, and we mourned together with the Benveniste family as much as we could. And it was impossible to offer words of comfort, to show words of comfort, to do acts of comfort for losing our dear student, Aaron. But tonight we do something in his memory of Chaye Sarah, for his life. Although he is no longer here, we're able to do what we can to boost life to someone else. And it was so heartfelt to hear that the family was willing to work with us on this, and excited that you wanted to do this in memory of Aaron. And we hope and we pray that his neshama, his soul, should have an aliyah, should be elevated, and he's looking down at us smiling. And we hope that through our involvement this evening, we can save future lives. And in memory of Aaron, that because of him, future lives of the Jewish people and the non-Jewish people in the world will be saved. And we look at it as Chaye Aaron, the life of Aaron. We'll look at it as a beautiful way to commemorate his life and to bring life to more people. May his neshama have an aliyah.
Thank you, Rabbi. We appreciate your kind words. I want to start and welcome Dr. Warren Alperstein. He's the Assistant Professor of Clinical Pediatrics from the Division of Pediatric Hematology and Oncology, the Bone Marrow Transplant, University of Miami, Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center, Jackson Memorial Hospital. Dr. Alperstein will speak with us a little bit about why we are all here tonight. Dr. Alperstein.
Thank you for inviting me and letting me join to talk with you all today. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Obviously, I didn't know Aaron as long as many of you here, and obviously his family and the Benveniste family. But for the time that I did get to know them, they're amazing people, and it's truly a pleasure to be able to hear and talk to you all in his honor. Unfortunately, the numbers in pediatric oncology aren't that small. There's about 15,000 new diagnoses each day. And when you're looking at even on a daily basis, those numbers come out to about 42 new pediatric cancers a day. And unfortunately, there's about 6 deaths per day across America. These are all different diagnoses, and these are specifically in pediatric oncology. When you're looking at childhood survival, the survival has gotten better over the years. thus meaning the mortality rates have gone down. One of the leading diagnoses and most frequent diagnoses in pediatric cancer is acute leukemia. And those numbers, mortality rates have decreased over the years due to innovative technologies such as bone marrow transplant. As the nerd in me, I can't go without talking a little bit about the history of transplant. So it started in the 1940s and 1950s with the development in mouse models at that time. It then proceeded in the 1950s for the first successful sibling transplant. In the late 1950s, after they were able to do that, they developed the term, or they discovered HLA, human leukocyte antigens, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And then they started doing, there was the initial drive to do transplants at that time. In the 1960s, they were able to come up with better mouse models to kind of drive a better clinical model. And then in 1975 was the big initial breakthrough from Thomas up in Seattle, where he transplanted multiple leukemia patients and some aplastic anemia. Over the time, or from the 1970s all the way through current times, we continue to develop and increase our programs. In 1989, NMDP developed. And then in the 1990s, we continued to come up with additional support systems and development to improve outcomes of bone marrow transplant. When we're talking about bone marrow transplant and annual numbers, there are, they've continued to rise. Here you can see from the 1980s to 2018. These are the numbers in the US for pediatrics and for adults. Autologous, meaning that it's from your own, so you're your own donor, versus allogeneic, meaning that it's from a separate person. So you need to find a match donor for those. And those numbers have continued to rise, people that are needing those in transplants that are done. When you're looking at here, the blue line that is increasing all the way up here, those are your unrelated donors, versus the green line is your sibling donor, and the orange line is another donor, another family donor, somebody in the family. And you can see the dark blue line, these unrelated donors are continued, these transplants are continuing to be done and are in great need. When you're looking at the age of the transplants done from 2013 to 2018, this orange range, these are your unrelated donors. And you can see that it is the largest amount of the group. We have siblings as well as other relatives. And this last one, the CB, is cord blood from babies, but the majority of them consist of these unrelated donors. When you're looking at survival outcomes and trends, this is on the left for AML and the right is for ALL. AML is acute myeloid leukemia versus ALL is acute lymphoid leukemia. And both trends under the age of 18, you can see the AML, over the years, you can have continue to have improving survival when you're looking at 5-year increments. And the same with ALL, and almost approaching that 80% survival rate when you're talking to post leukemia transplants for under 18. If you're older than 18, if you're in the adult world, survival is not as great, but you're still very good, and continuing to increase over the years as we're learning more and more about transplant. And you can see the numbers that have been done for these different groups. So where does Be the Match and the NMDP come in, right? So the mission is to save lives and to increase the donor bank for those unrelated donors that we were showing there, right? So every 3 minutes, someone is diagnosed with a blood cancer, and not everybody has a matched donor in their family. So when we were looking at those numbers earlier, you saw that some were siblings, some were other relatives, maybe a parent, but majority of the transplants out of those groups were done by unrelated donors. These are all the different diseases that can be transplanted and found cures for. So it's not just leukemia. You have in pediatrics, there's a lot of other genetic disorders that can be cured with transplantation as well. So how does it work? As I mentioned earlier, the concept of HLA matching, right? So this is based off of this concept of human leukocyte antigens. So it's not your blood type, and it's matching from your parents, right? So everybody is half a match, or you get your genetic makeup of your parents. And so how does this play and interact with our community? Well, and why is it important to have drives like this and increase that unrelated donor bank? Because within us, we're more likely to relate within the Ashkenaz community or Sephardi Jewish community, the different communities that we have, if we continue to donate and to increase the people that are willing to donate, the bank grows. And if somebody were to need to find a transplant and have one of these awful diseases, and you need to find a donor, you're more likely to find it if we have a bigger bank of Jewish heritage and ancestry that are from our people. And it's based off of the ability of your genetic makeup. So you're benefiting and potentially helping other families down the road. Unfortunately, there's different disparities when you look at the numbers, when you're looking at who's available to be the match, right? So based off of different ethnicities, there's different abilities that we can predict the likelihood of you finding a match. There's different ways to donate. So when you hear bone marrow transplant, you think, oh, what are you gonna have to donate or how are you gonna have to do it? Majority of the time, you just get an IV placed, as you can see in the picture, and you donate stem cells. So bone marrow transplant is another way of saying it. It's just a stem cell transplant. And the stem cells are produced from your bone marrow so that you can take it from a biopsy from your bone marrow, or you can insert an IV and take it that way, kind of like just the same way as you would donate blood. Typically, physicians will request one versus the other, but as a donor, you're always able to say, I would give one and not the other, one way around. So you can dictate which one you prefer. And it is simple, and you just have to sign up, and we'll go through in a little bit about the ways to be able to save these lives and to register. And once you register, they'll reach out to you if you ever look for a donor. So for example, we do about 24 if you do 24 transplants a year, every time you need an unrelated donor, we go into this national database and you look and you put in the patient that I have, the HLA typing, and you see, is there anybody that's a match? And if you have somebody from the same ethnicity, somebody from the same group of people, looking back in their heritage, you're more likely to find a match. So it's even more important for us as people to be able to donate and register, so that way when we have people that are in our community, whether it be in South Florida or be in California or anywhere across the world, we're able to match up a donor that could potentially save that child or person's life. It doesn't take long, and it is an easy process that we're going to go through. And the most important thing is to just get involved and to donate and potentially save a life.
Thank you, Dr. Alperstein. First, I just want to say we're glad that you have the nerd in you to explain this to us, because it's very important, and we're so grateful for this information. And I also want to stress, because I personally am a chicken, that your slide that says that it doesn't hurt. So I want to encourage the other chickens like me to not be afraid of this, and to really think about the big mitzvah that you can participate in. So that I wanted to stress, and thank you so much for your presentation. We're going to move forward with another presentation from Mr. Iram De Silva. Mr. De Silva is the president of the Icla De Silva Foundation, the largest recruitment center for the Be the Match registry, and that's the national registry. As Mr. De Silva prepares, I just want to remind you again, this is, if you have access to the kit, you can take that out now before he speaks. And also, if you don't have a kit, or if you're not local, you can contact me. I'm going to put in the chat my email address and my phone number. You can request a kit, or you can check that this is being recorded. We're going to share it with our community again. So if you know someone who's interested and they missed tonight, it will be available, and we will want to continue to spread the word in Aaron's loving memory. So Mr. De Silva, I pass along to you.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity for me to speak here tonight. I'll be talking about the Icla da Silva Foundation work with Be the Match and the mission of those two organizations and the steps of registering as a potential donor. So as Dr. Opperstein now share with us, the mission of Be the Match is to save lives through cellular therapy. And then the two organizations, Be the Match is the largest and most diverse bone marrow registry in the world. We do have over 20 million donors that has already signed up. The Icla da Silva Foundation, it's a nonprofit organization that started after my sister Icla passed away when she was only 12 years old. My family came from Brazil because she was diagnosed, and my brother and myself was not a match, and there was no registry in Brazil at the time. And the Be the Match registry started here in the United States in 1986. So the hopes of my family was to possibly find her a match here at the Be the Match registry. So we sold everything that we had in Brazil when we came in the hopes of finding her a match. And then after 2 years of running a lot of bone marrow drives back in 1989 until 1991, unfortunately she came and she passed away without finding a match. But we learned that many of the donors that we signed up for her ended up being a match to other patients, and that some of them are still alive today. So with that, and also even though she was only 12 years old, she mentioned that after she was cured, she wants to start a foundation to help the other kids that she met in the hospital. So with that idea, we decided to start the Icla da Silva Foundation with the main goal of create awareness, education, and help others to join the Be the Match registry. So today we became the largest nonprofit in the United States that adds the largest number of bone marrow donors to the Be the Match registry. We have added only 1 year over 47,000 donors. As of today, we are helping facilitate over 100 transplants per year through the donors that we have recruited. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the steps of registration. As Susie mentioned earlier, some of you have received and have the swab kits with you. Others do not, which is fine. I will go through the process of how you can also request one if you don't have one with you. So the first thing we need to do is to send a text message with the word HA cares to 61474. You can also go to join.bethematch.org /HA cares, but the easiest way is to send a text message on your phone with the word HA cares. You're going to receive a text message, and once you get the text message, you click on that link that will help you start the registration process. When you get to the next step and you click join the registry, there will be two options after you enter your first name, last name, and email. The first option is I am at a Be the Match event with cheek swab kits ready to use today. So if you do have the swab kits in your hand, you click on the first option. If you do not have a swab kit in your hand and you need to order one, you would select the second option. I'm not at a Be the Match event today. We did not update that fast enough for COVID, but usually we are at a live drive or not at a live drive. But if you do not have a swab kit, you select the second option and you request the swab kit then, and we'll be happy to mail that to you. Okay, so for those of you who do have, you'll be selecting the first option to start the registration. And once you select that option, you start the registration by completing your first name, your last name, and your email, and you're going to be creating an account. And then after that, you provide your address information as well. We'll be asking about your ethnic ancestry. You can select as many as you identify yourself with. This is just for us to see and have an idea who you're bringing to the registry. What really matters is your HLA typing. So don't worry about it if you don't know, if you select the wrong one. We're still going to be testing and then finding out your HLA typing. There'll be some basic questions about you. It's a pre-screen to make sure that you are eligible to join the registry. And if you select one that you'll be getting a message saying why you are not eligible to join. But if everything is okay, you just press continue after you complete that information. And then we usually ask for one contact, at least first name, last name, phone number. That's because you're going to be in the registry from now until you turn 61 years old. And we never know when you're becoming a match to a patient. So it's important that in the future, in case you change your phone number, your address, we have somebody else that will be able to also contact and be able to find you in case you match with someone. And then after that, there is your signature where you're going to put your name, and then you complete the registration. You will get to a step where, for those of you who do have the swab kits with your hand, you'll be asking to confirm that you do have HA cares on the screen, and you'll be scanning a QR code so that your registration on your phone will match with the swab kits. So on your envelope, there is a QR code that you're going to scan with your phone, and that number, or you can type the number as well that is on the envelope. It's about, there are some numbers that you can type, but it's easier to scan. So it connects your registration with your swab kits. And after that, your registration is complete, and there are instructions on the envelope and how you should swab. They are actually, shows here, it's an old picture, but there is actually two Q-tips that you're going to swab on your cheek, on one for each side, and then you place the swab kits in the envelopes. You close the envelope, and I don't know exactly what the process is that you have established there, but you can mail this back to Be the Match as a prepaid envelope, or is it possible for also to hand back to Susie? I don't know, Susie, what the step is, but we can clarify later on, and then we can collect those envelopes from Susie. But if you can also send it back. That's a very easy process. Now, we are always available if you have any questions when you're going through the presentation. But we are very grateful for our partnership with you here. And we definitely, our main goal is to provide equal access for all and save more lives. I don't know if I have any time for questions, but I encourage you to always reach out if you have any questions about the registration process.
Thank you, Mr. De Silva. I want to bring up a question that just came up. I think it's important because I've heard this question before, and I had it personally too. If you participated in an event in the last 10 years or so, or ever, and you swabbed and are in the system, but wanted to check if you're still current or your email address and is active, how would you go about? Is it the same process without the swab? You can enter through this code?
Yeah, it's a great question. So if you have registered as a potential donor in the past, you do not need to register again. All you need to do is update your information. So if you go to bethematch.org, and there is a search bar there that you can click update, and you'll be able to update your information there with your name, address, and your phone number, so that we have the most up-to-date information. And it doesn't matter if you have joined here or even in another country or any other registry. You do not need to register again.
Okay, can we could share the website address in the chat also if people want to just check their status?
Yeah, you cannot check the status on the website, but you can go there and then click update and provide you most up-to-date information.
Okay. Will we be able to also include the HA cares for that the effort is in Aaron's memory? Will it be in the update, or it's through the kit is
Yeah, that HA cares is more for the new registrations that we keep track of,
okay.
but not for the update.
Okay, All right, thank you. I think we have time for a few more questions if anyone has. I think you can unmute yourself if you have a question, or you can put it inside the chat and I can mention it.
Yeah, I have a quick question. You're not supposed to eat, drink, chew gum, smoke, anything like that for like 30 minutes before you collect the DNA. Is that correct?
It's best if not, but if you do, it's okay because we're collecting some of the cells. That's a DNA. We'll be doing a DNA test, so it should not be a problem at all.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? I have a question. If you're over 44 or a certain age, can you still swab? Is there an age limit to be a donor?
Yes, there is an age limit to be a donor. I don't know if Dr. Alpenstein want to take the question or he would like me to answer, but there is an age limit that Be the Match and many registries all over the world has established, and they vary. And the reason is because throughout the years that doctors have been doing transplants, they have found that the survival rates for patients that receive transplants from a younger donor is much higher than those that from donors that have an older age. So Be the Match, and also because there is limited funds from Be the Match, they want to make sure that they are putting their resources wherever it's best for the patients. So our focus is between the ages of 18 and 44 years old, because 90% of the time doctors choose donors that are between the ages of 18 and 44.
Yeah, I would double up exactly what he said. If you have an option between two donors that are exactly the match, you always pick the younger donor.
Questions? You're welcome to write in the chat or to unmute.
But I also want to add that I want to make sure that everyone understands that regardless of the age limit, all of us can make a difference and always help. Now we can always encourage others, especially those who are younger, to join the registry. We do a lot of college university drives because those are the best donors for the patients, the younger donor. So if you do not qualify for age or health, does not mean that you cannot help, and your help is very important to us. So spread the word, share that text to join link, ask others to join, and that's very critical that we add more young donors to the registry.
Okay, and then here's a question, I think it's a good one. Are there any pre-existing conditions that prevent someone from being a donor?
Doctor, you want to take that?
Sure. It's typically if there's any genetic disorder that would kind of disqualify you. But something like hypertension, high cholesterol, things along those lines that are more common, you're not going to be excluded from something along those lines.
And also, if I can add, the requirements are a little bit different than blood donations. So you have traveled to other countries. Now, sometimes you cannot donate blood. Weight limit, there is no minimum weight. So it's important that you go through the registration process, and there is a health questionnaire there that we pretty much cover a lot of the conditions that disqualify a person.
Thank you. And I want to also stress the importance of if you were a previous donor to update your information. Like I know I personally was part of a drive many years ago, and it has an old AOL address somewhere floating out there. So if they are looking for me, this is like a great time to update and put my new Gmail. I want to have Dr. Ron Benveniste speak on behalf of the family. If before you do so, if I don't know if Rabbi Guttenberg offered to do a demonstration with the kid, if that would be helpful. Let me know if you think that's a good idea, Mr. De Silva. If you guys have your kids in front. and your swab. Can you see Dr. Guttenberg, Rabbi Guttenberg's? Maybe we can highlight his
Screen,
his
yes.
screen and
There we go.
okay. And if you want to walk him
I've
through
never
it.
done it before, so
Yeah, so usually it's about 10 seconds on one side, and then there are some pink labels on the envelope that you can put around on the Q-tip and put it back on the envelope. That's great. Thank you for the demonstration. And there is another swab kit or the Q-tip that you do the same on the other side, and you place that back on the envelope, and then you seal the envelope and yeah. So there's a pink label that has some barcode, and then you put that back on the envelope. And then there's another Q-tip that you do the other side for about 5 to 10 seconds and place the pink label as well and back on the envelope, and you seal. It's very important that at the end of your registration, when you're doing that on your phone, on your computer, it will ask for some donor ID. And that's when I mentioned that you can scan a QR code that is on the outside of the envelope, or in case it doesn't work, the QR code, your phone is not taking that number. The pink labels also do have, I believe it's 9 numbers that you can type that in as well. But make sure when you're going through the process of registration that you go until the end until it says, congratulations, you have completed your registration.
Thank you so much. Before Dr. Benveniste speaks, any other questions about the demo or any other questions? Thank you. So Dr. Benveniste, thank you for, you can unmute. You're able. And,
Thank you very much, Susie, for putting together this event and all of your hard work. And Rabbi Guttenberg, above and beyond the call of duty, doing your demonstration. Thank you. And Dr. Alperstein, we remain very grateful to you and your team for everything that you did for Aaron, and again, for stepping up tonight to help with this mitzvah. You know, our perspective is a little bit different. You know, when we learned that Aaron's leukemia was not in remission after a month of chemotherapy, and we learned that the only treatment that would give him a chance at a cure was the bone marrow transplant, Rachel and I educated ourselves very quickly about the process. And most of what we learned was frightening. Some of it was negative. But we did learn 2 things at that time that gave us hope. And that was hope during a very difficult, dark time when there was not a lot to be hopeful about. And the first thing was that bone marrow transplantation doesn't save all kids, but it actually saves a surprising number of kids who have no other treatment option. And that gave us some hope. And there was something else we learned that gave us not just hope, but actually made us proud. And we learned that if neither of our other children would be a good genetic match for Aaron, that it was very likely that he would find a donor through the registry. And we learned that one reason for that is that our community, our distant relatives, the Ashkenazic Jews, have historically been bone marrow donors and have registered for this process. And that gave us hope, and it also made us more than a little bit proud. So a lot of good things come out of registering as a bone marrow donor. And it's certainly a mitzvah. It's certainly something that can save a child's life or an adult's life in the future. But it's also something that will give hope to families that otherwise may not have hope. And hopefully pride for all of us as members of a community that has always stepped up to do this mitzvah. And I'm very confident that a lot of you can help. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words. May all of our efforts be for Aaron for his neshama, his soul to have an aliyah. I want to thank the Benvenistes for sharing this beautiful mitzvah with our community, this very important one. And again, I want to thank all of those who have worked very hard to put this together. I want to thank Dr. Alperstein, Mr. De Silva, Mr. Wesley, Rabbi Guttenberg. Thank you all for putting this together with us. And I encourage you all to reach out to me if you have additional questions. I shared my email address in the chat. Again, may Aaron's neshama have an aliyah. I wish you all a good night, and I thank you so much for being here together with us. It means the world to us. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.